On this episode of Carnage, we're at Dandy Engines sorting out a new engine for Turbo Taxi. So here we are with Frank at Dandy Engines. We've got our Barra block here. We've already sent the block to the boys and they've already cleaned it in their hot tank, mate. You use some special juice in there to, it looks like new. It looks like a brand new block.
You've got to be able to get them brand new before you start working on them, so at least you can appreciate it.
Amazing, amazing. All right, so our first operation is going to be getting our main caps on. We've got main studs there to use. So you guys are going to sort it out with the main caps, get it all aligned and that sort of thing. And then I guess we just hook into it. From there, it's just going to be bang, 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 bang. We're going to machine this thing today, get it all done, get it all sorted, and we're here with the experts and it's going to be amazing.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. So right now, Zon is preparing the block for line honing. We're using a main stud kit which can distort the caps and that sort of thing. And obviously, this is a well-used engine, so we're just correcting any possible distortion in that main tunnel. So right now, he's going to get the caps on there, get the studs on it, get it all torqued up, and then it'll go into the line hone machine over here, and we'll just correct any deficiencies in that tunnel. Just make sure she's straight and true. So we've come across our first issue for the day, and this is always going to happen when you're building engines. There's always something that becomes a problem. And the studs, for whatever reason, are slightly long, and even if you use the thin, windage tray plate that comes standard on the Barra, they're still too long. So if we drop that on there, the stud is still too long. Yes, you can put a washer on there, and we would, but it's still very close to where the nut would bottom out. So we've made an executive decision there, and we're going to use a proper girdle. And there we go. So that'll go on. No problems with length and all that sort of stuff. It also makes it easier for the guys to line hone it, because they can then see in there where with the other plate, you would have to line hone it without the factory windage tray on there, because you just can't see what's going on. But oh well, girdle. Right, so all the operations have been done. We've got our girdle tightened down, 100 foot-pounds with moly lube, all the surfaces ready, and it's going to go into this sun and line hone over here, and Lou will be doing a line hone right through the tunnel, the main tunnel. So let's get that into the machine and get it cracking. So we are here with Lou, who is the actual owner of Dandy Engines. He's going to be doing our line honing. So just talk us through quickly what the operation is.
All right, well basically, as you saw earlier, is I've prepared all the caps, stripping the tunnels, giving me some material to remove. When we line hone it, the prime purpose of that is to straighten up the caps vertically and also bring them all in line.
Yep.
Obviously then bring them up to size so that everything blueprints the clearances.
Yeah, because the material that you've removed from the cap obviously has to be compensated for, and then, you know, so the line hone will open it up again, and obviously, you know, using studs can distort the caps as well and all that sort of thing. So
Correct.
Yeah.
The studs have a different torque value, for a better word, distorting the block.
yeah.
It's just probably the best way to do it is the way it's going to run in the case. If you're running a bolt, you run a bolt and hone it with a bolt. If you're running a stud, run the stud.
Yep.
Run as much girdling, as much auxiliary stuff around it that you can.
Yep.
Because that's what it's going to see in the car.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get it underway.
No worries.
A lot of thrusting goes into this. Half time, change sides. So they've got to swap it end to end, so to remove any taper from the bores, as well as, you know, obviously getting the bore straight.
And keeps the bar parallel as well. Stops the bar following the trend.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So Lou has line honed our tunnels, they're straight and true, everything's all good, you're happy with it, cool. And now from here it goes to a wash area.
Correct. To take the oil out of it.
Yeah, so it's had honing oil through it now, and the next process where we bore it uses what, a more of a water-based coolant thing.
Coolant-based
cutting
agent.
Yeah, so totally different. So we need to get the oil out of it before it can go into the boring machine.
Correct.
So, cool. Correct. All right, well, let's get that happening. So we're over here with Gus at the moment, who is setting up our block on the boring machine. So it will be bored first, so bored out to the size that we require for our JE pistons, and then over here to the honing machine afterwards to finalise the operation. But yeah, so Gus is there poking the magic box, putting in all the data, and we'll get this thing bored in no time. So now that the boring operation's done, and we're boring it out 20 thou for our JE pistons, so the boring side's done, so now it needs to be honed, so we're transferring it from this side to this side, where it'll get its final hone. So right now we've got the block in the honing machine. Gus is just bolting down the torque plate, so that simulates the head. So we'll bolt that down with the head studs and attach it down, and it simulates the stresses of the head on the block, so it pulls the block into a certain shape, so when you hone it, the bores stay straight for when we bolt a head on it and run pistons up and down in there. So yeah, that's the whole purpose of this exercise right now.
Well, right now the block is on size, and what we're going to do is the three-step finishing. It's very special especially for turbo engines. Well, first we use a rough stone, then you are going to move to an intermediate stone, and after the brushes.
So I had to duck out for a couple of minutes and get some stuff done, but while I've been away, Gus has had the block on the honing machine over there and done a beautiful hone. Now he's got it on the surface grinder here. They're going to deck the surface, get it nice and square with a bore, but Frank wants to show us this magical little device called a profilometer.
Yes.
What's it do?
The purpose of this tool, when you have like such an expensive CNC machine that hones the blocks, is we want to check the finish of the bore. I know you're probably thinking the finish of the bore. Well, there's three aspects of the bore that this tool will measure. It's the depth of the scratch, basically, and the middle depth of the scratch, and that's the part that holds the oil. And then you have to measure the finish of the surface. That's the depth of the scratch will hold oil to lubricate the rings.
Yep.
And then the finish of the surface is basically how the ring is going to lap in for its first sealing up session.
Yep.
And that makes a huge difference to how the ring is going to work for the rest of its life in the engine.
Awesome. Okay, and this machine tells us all that.
Yeah, and this machine, it has a little probe that scratches, or not scratches, runs along the surface of the bore, and it will measure the depth of the scratch.
Okay.
And then the middle depth of the scratch, and then the surface finish of the scratch.
Are you allowed to show us those numbers?
I can't show you those numbers. We
Top
all work
secret.
very hard for that. We're lucky enough that, you know, not only do we do it to all our customer blocks, depending on their ring package, we also hone blocks for people like Wilkinshaw Racing, and it's, you know, each block has to have its number depending on what rings we're using.
Okay. So you've already measured this one?
Yes,
And how'd it go?
yeah, we're happy with the numbers we came up. We met basically what the ring company wants us to, you know, work within a window of those numbers, and that's the purpose of having this tool and that machine,
Okay.
and the diamond cutting pieces that cut the actual scratch.
Yeah. Top secret information. Obviously, we're not allowed to show all of it, but I've got to say, the hone looks awesome. If you've watched the engine building video where I slapped together that Barra in a day, you know, and did a garage hone, the hone was so aggressive and angry compared to what I'm seeing here. This looks absolutely beautiful. I feel like a hack. Hey, we know I'm a hack, but wow.
Don't beat up on yourself. Sometimes our 4,000 plus horsepower Procharger engines or turbo engines get a dunny brush hone at the racetrack and still run 350s to the 8th mile.
There you go. You've heard it from the experts. Sometimes that happens. So, but anyway, this is looking really good. Gus is going to surface the deck. That's going to be awesome, and that'll promote gasket adhesion and also square it up. Is that true?
Correct.
Yeah.
We just want to make sure that we've got the gasket's best chance to seal against the block and the cylinder head. And again, we can run this tool over the finish to make sure
Oh, so that can measure that as
we
well.
can measure the finish for the head gasket's requirement.
Okay, awesome. Cool. All right, let's get Gus to do his job. Okay, so it has been a massive day. There's been a lot of operations, from the block cleaning through to the line honing, the boring, the final honing, the decking. All right, this engine block is pretty much ready for assembly, other than the fact that it has to go in the parts washer, clean out all that machining material, and then it'll go on an engine stand, and then we can begin the final assembly. But like I said, it's been a massive day here at Dandy Engines. The guys have smashed this out for us. So we'll be back here in a day or two and do the final assembly. Let's go home, have a beer. So we're in here the other day at Dandy Engines doing the engine machining on our Barra block, and now it is time for assembly. We've got Jake here to help us. He's going to be, he's measuring everything up, laying it all out, and yeah, basically we're going to go through the process. You've seen this a bunch of times, but it's going to be seeing how the professionals do it and not just Scotty slapping shit together in the Carnage workshop. So yeah. We're going to learn some stuff, you're going to learn some stuff, and at the end of it, we're going to have this awesome Barra. So Jake is smashing through this, measuring everything. It's all coming up roses at the moment. We're looking at ring gap at the moment, top rings. What are you looking for at the moment in terms of ring gap?
Look, just putting them in straight out of the box, they're already looking like they're around 30. So
30?
Yeah, pretty loose.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm just going to actually go back and double check the part numbers already in here.
Yeah.
They're all looking pretty much in the vicinity.
Yeah, 30 is way looser than, yeah. Interesting.
Run 35 pound.
So it turns out, unbeknownst to me, Jake was actually measuring the second ring there, which did come up at 30 thou. Not sure what we're going to do about that at the moment, but he just chucked the top ring in there, and that's come up at about 16 thou, so we are going to have to open that up. So we're going to do some ring grinding and work out what we're going to do. 30 thou isn't, it's a lot for a second ring, but you know, it's not the end of the world either. You definitely want your second ring to be bigger than your top ring, so you don't end up with gases trapped between the rings, which can unbalance them and cause them to flutter and do all sorts of crazy things and get a bad ring seal. So yeah, as long as the top ring is, you know, perfect, that's what we want. And then the second ring can be a little bit larger, that'll be fine. So Jake's measured up all the rings to come up at 17s and 18s. We're going to grind them now. He's got over there with an electric grinder about to fire up. So we've decided, because this car runs on LPG, we're going to open the top rings to about 24 thou, and we're going to leave those second rings at about 30, just to, as I said, not trap the gases between the rings. So yeah, 24 thou probably sounds pretty wide for a lot of you, but remember, LPG burns a bit hotter. We kill green tops at levels that E85 seems to survive at, you know, so LPG obviously burns a bit hotter. We're getting ring butting problems with LPG, so let's open it up a little bit to 24 thou and eliminate that problem. Anyway, let's do some ring grinding. So how good is this little device? An electric ring grinder, and it's got a little dial gauge on it, so when they step the ring across, they can tell how much they're removing from the ring. Not like me, like a monkey with an organ, you know, in the workshop trying to, you know, guesstimate how much I'm taking off the ring. No, actual proper tools and science and measurements. I'm so jealous. Right, so now Jake has checked all the clearances, gapped all the rings. We're pretty much ready to move on to the next step, which is he's going to remove all the caps. We're going to give the block a quick blow over in terms of paint, and then final assembly. So Jake was just basically baking the moisture out of the block right then, and there was an amazing amount coming out, but it's all gone now. So, and also preheats the surface a little bit. Paint's going to stick really well, so we'll move it over painting. So now that our block is painted, it's ready to go. We're going to do Welsh plugs, or freeze plugs as Americans call them. And after that's done, crank, rods, pistons. It all goes together. It's all very exciting. So while Jake is pulling down the caps just to locate the crank in there, you may notice there's no girdle on there. Well, reason one is when you have the girdle on there, it makes it really hard to do the rods and pistons. Reason two is we did a test fit with the girdle and the crank and the sump, and they don't all work together. So the girdle is going bye-byes and we're going back to the standard plate, which,
unfortunately,
yeah, the boys have put it on, checked it all, it's all good. So no messages about that, but we will be using the standard windage tray / girdle once the rods and pistons are in. But now the crank's in, you can do rods and pistons and then put the windage tray on. But yeah, if you don't happen to see this anymore, the reason is yeah, it doesn't seem to work with the sump.
Bit of a miscalculation.
Oh well,
We'll get past it.
it happens on the big jobs. So here's the difference between me building engines and a professional like Jake building engines, where I would be like putting rods and pistons in sort of one at a time or even two at a time. He's going to put all 6 in, put the caps on, and then flip the block up and then torque them all at once. So just something, an efficiency thing where, you know, I'll be spinning the block over and over and over constantly, and it burns up time, but so much quicker the way he's doing it, and maybe that's the way I'll do it in the future. So always handy to learn these things. So yeah, very cool. So there we have it, one short block assembled. So rods, pistons, crank, Jake has smashed it out. Thank you, mate.
No worries, Scott.
Dandy Engines, where you come to get your engines built, and obviously the highest of high performance engines. So we were planning to put the sump on this today.
Yeah,
However, Frank had some concerns about the sump. Let's pull that out of there for the moment. So the sump as it sits right there, Frank had some concerns about the fact that there was just going to be a pickup there and nothing in the middle. I made a call to Jamie Farmer at Enemies Racing Australia. They make these cool little baffles for the FG sump. So, boom, that goes in there. However, we've got to drill and tap the mounting holes there and there and there just to attach that. Obviously, we need to do that before the sump goes on the engine. we'll probably handle that back at the Carnage workshop. So what we'll do now is wrap this up, take it back to our HQ, final assemble it there. But thanks a lot, dude.
No worries, appreciate it.
Thank you for smashing
Good
out
luck
so
with
quickly.
the rest of the build.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Finally, a professionally built Barra in the Carnage workshop. And you'll see the final assembly of that on a future episode of Carnage.